Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt the sting of betrayal? The gut-wrenching pain of someone you trusted pulling away, treating you like an option instead of a priority? You see, we've all been there. And the instinct is to react, to lash out, to beg for answers, to demand the respect you deserve. But let me tell you something. That's exactly what he expects you to do. That's the game he's playing. And if you play by his rules, you lose every single time. But today I'm going to show you how to flip the script. I'm going to teach you how to confuse him, shift the power, and take control, not through manipulation, not through revenge, but through something much more powerful: emotional mastery. Pain is power if you use it right. Listen, pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. You can sit there replaying the hurt, giving him space in your mind rent-free, or you can turn that pain into power. The moment you stop reacting emotionally, you start thinking strategically. And that, my friends, is where real power begins. Shift the frame, change the game. Most people react when they're hurt. They cry, they get angry, they beg for closure, but when you do that, you're still in his frame. You're playing by his rules. Instead, I want you to shift the frame. What does that mean? It means instead of chasing him for answers, you step back. Instead of seeking validation, you give it to yourself. You change the game, and suddenly, he doesn't know what's happened. Indifference is confusion. You want to really confuse him? Stop reacting. Indifference is more powerful than hate, because when you're indifferent, you're in control. The moment he realizes you're no longer emotionally tied to him, he loses power over you. And trust me, that will shake him to his core. Master your emotions. Own the game. Most people think power comes from controlling others. That's wrong. Power comes from controlling yourself. When you learn to master your emotions, when you don't react out of hurt but respond with clarity, you become unshakable. And an unshakable person is irresistible. Scarcity creates value. Ever notice how we want what we can't have? That's psychology. Scarcity creates demand. The moment you pull away, not as a game, but because you're focused on you start to wonder, did I mess up? Is she moving on? Why isn't she chasing me? And just like that, the tables turn. Focus on your power, not his mistakes. At the end of the day, the biggest mistake you can make is giving your power away. The moment you make your happiness dependent on someone else, you lose. Instead, redirect that energy, pour it into your growth, your goals, your life. Because here's the truth. When you start focusing on your power, you don't need to confuse him. He'll confuse himself. You don't win by playing games. You win by becoming the strongest, most confident version of yourself. When you do that, people respect you, chase you, and regret ever hurting you. So the next time someone hurts you, don't react. Don't beg. Confuse them with your strength. Because your power, that's yours to keep. Pain is something we all experience at some point in life, especially in relationships. When someone you care about hurts you, it feels personal. It shakes your confidence, makes you question your worth, and can even make you believe that something is wrong with you. Let me tell you something. Pain is not a sign of weakness. Pain is not the end of your story. Pain is power, but only if you know how to use it. Most people react to pain the wrong way. They let it define them. They drown in it. They obsess over the person who caused it, replaying the situation over and over in their minds, trying to make sense of it. They get stuck in an emotional loop, seeking validation from the very person who hurt them. But here's the truth. The moment you start chasing someone for answers, you give them control. You put them in the driver's seat of your emotions. And that's when they hold all the power. What if, instead of seeing pain as something to run from, you saw it as a signal? What if you realized that pain is a message telling you something deeper about yourself? Pain is an opportunity. It forces you to wake up. It forces you to reflect. It forces you to grow. But only if you shift your perspective. Think about this. Every great comeback story, every success, every transformation starts with pain. Why? Because pain creates pressure, and pressure creates diamonds. When you stop seeing pain as a punishment and start seeing it as fuel, you take back your power. Imagine a moment when you were deeply hurt. Maybe someone betrayed you, rejected you, or made you feel invisible. What did you do? Did you shrink? Did you beg for their attention? Did you let that pain control your mood, your confidence, your day? Or did you use it? See, the people who win in life are the ones who don't let pain break them. They let it build them. They don't collapse under pressure. They rise because of it. And you have that power too. The key is how you respond when someone hurts you. If you respond with desperation, with anger, or with neediness, you're giving that person all the control. But if you pause, if you breathe, if you redirect that pain into something productive, whether it's your growth, your career, your passions, or your self-improvement, you take the power back. Suddenly, that pain isn't a weakness anymore, it's an advantage. Here's the truth. The people who hurt you don't expect you to rise. They expect you to react, to crumble, to stay stuck in the pain they caused. When you don't, when you transform that pain into power, you confuse them. You make them question their actions. You make them realize that they never had control over you in the first place. Think of the most successful people in the world, athletes, business leaders, artists, and visionaries. Do you think they've never experienced pain? Of course they have. But they turned that pain into fuel. They used it as a weapon, not a weakness. You can do the same. The next time someone hurts you, instead of reacting emotionally, pause, breathe, tell yourself, this is fuel. Then ask yourself, how can I use this? How can I turn this pain into motivation? How can I make sure that this situation makes me stronger, not weaker? Because at the end of the day, it's not the pain that defines you, it's what you do with it. And if you learn to use pain as power, nothing and no one can ever control you again. When someone hurts you, the natural response is to react emotionally. You feel the need to defend yourself, to demand explanations, to express your pain in the hope that the other person will see it, understand it, and maybe even regret what they did. But what if I told you that reacting this way only keeps you trapped in their game? That every time you respond exactly as they expect, you reinforce their power over you. The reason people hurt others, whether consciously or unconsciously, is because they expect a certain reaction. They expect anger, sadness, desperation, or even attempts at reconciliation. It keeps the emotional connection alive, even if it's a painful one. When you play by their rules, when you chase, plead, or react in predictable ways, you're still operating within the frame they set for you, and as long as you're in their frame, they hold the power. The way to take back control is simple. Change the game. Shift the frame so that you are no longer reacting, but instead you are responding on your terms. Imagine two people playing a game of chess. One person is making all the moves, controlling the pace, setting the traps. The other person is just reacting to each move, trying to keep up. Who do you think is in control? The one making the moves, not the one reacting. In life, when someone hurts you, they are trying to make a move that forces you into a reaction. But what happens when you refuse to play? What happens when you don't move the way they expect? Suddenly, they're thrown off balance. This is why emotional control is the ultimate power move. Instead of reacting impulsively, you step back. You create distance. Not out of revenge, but out of self-respect. When you do this, you send a message that their actions do not dictate your emotions. This is confusing to someone who expected a predictable reaction from you. It forces them to question their own actions. And often it makes them realize that they never had as much control over you as they thought. Think about a situation where someone hurt you and expected you to react. Maybe they ignored your messages, thinking you'd chase them. Maybe they disrespected you, expecting you to get angry and argue. Maybe they pulled away emotionally, assuming you would beg for their attention. But what if, instead of doing any of those things, you simply shifted the frame? What if instead of reacting, you remain calm, focused on yourself, and move forward without looking back? Suddenly, the power dynamic shifts. They start wondering, why isn't she reacting? Why isn't he chasing? Did I lose them? This creates confusion, and in that confusion, they start to question their own behavior. The very person who thought they had control over you now feels uncertain. And uncertainty is powerful. Shifting the frame doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending you don't care. It means redirecting your energy. Instead of using your time and attention to dwell on what they did, you use it to focus on yourself. You become stronger, more confident, more independent. You show, not tell them that their actions have no power over your peace. And here's the most important part. When you learn to shift the frame in this way, it's not just about confusing them, it's about freeing yourself. Because the moment you stop reacting on autopilot and start responding with intention, you take full control of your life. And that's when you truly win. When someone hurts you, the first instinct is to respond with emotion. Anger, sadness, frustration. You want them to know how much pain they've caused. You want them to feel guilty, to regret their actions, to come back and make things right. But here's the truth. The more you react, the more power you give them. The moment you make it clear that their actions have affected you, they know they still have control. Whether they intended to hurt you or not, your reaction confirms that they still occupy space in your mind and heart. Most people believe that the opposite of love is hate, but that's not true. The real opposite of love is indifference. Hate still requires emotion, still requires energy, still keeps you connected to the person who hurt you. Indifference, on the other hand, is the ultimate shift in power. It sends a message louder than words. You no longer have an impact on me. And that is what truly confuses them. When someone expects you to be upset, when they expect you to react, and instead you remain unbothered, they don't know how to handle it. They start questioning everything. Did they misjudge you? Did you never care in the first place? Are you already moving on? These questions create a level of uncertainty they didn't anticipate, and uncertainty is uncomfortable. The moment they realize they don't have emotional control over you anymore, the power shifts. Think about a time when you were deeply hurt by someone. Maybe they ignored you, rejected you, or betrayed your trust. If you reacted with anger or desperation, what happened? It probably didn't make them regret their actions. If anything, it may have pushed them further away. But imagine if instead you had responded with calm, detached indifference. Imagine if instead of texting them long paragraphs demanding answers, you had simply stopped engaging, to have them become repressed because your feelings were so hurt that you couldn't bring yourself to consider them hurt. Instead of reacting with tears or frustration, you had smiled, carried on with your life, and focused on yourself. The energy shifts completely. Suddenly, they are the ones feeling uncertain. Indifference doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending you don't care. It means you refuse to give someone the satisfaction of seeing you struggle. It means you acknowledge your emotions privately, process them in a healthy way, but outwardly you move with grace, strength, and confidence. You show, without saying a word, that their actions do not define your happiness. When you master indifference, you become unpredictable. People don't know how to read you anymore. They don't know if they've won or lost, if you're hurting or thriving, if you still care, or if you've moved on. And that's what creates true confusion. They expected a reaction, but instead, they get silence. They expected you to fight for their attention, but instead, you walk away with dignity. And the moment you do that, you become more valuable. Humans crave what they can't have. The moment you show someone that you don't need them, that you are completely fine without them, their perception of you changes. Suddenly, they start thinking about you more. They wonder why you aren't chasing them, why you aren't upset, why you aren't reacting the way they expected. And that thought process can be more powerful than any words you could ever say. At the end of the day, real power comes from emotional control. When you stop reacting, when you stop seeking validation from the person who hurt you, you take back everything they thought they had over you. And in doing so, you don't just confuse them, you free yourself. Emotions are powerful. They drive our decisions, shape our relationships, and influence how others perceive us. When someone hurts you, your emotions surge: anger, sadness, frustration, even confusion. The natural instinct is to react immediately, to express what you're feeling, to make the other person understand your pain. But here's the problem. When you react impulsively, you give away control. You let the person who hurt you dictate your emotional state. They push a button and you respond exactly as they expect. True power comes from emotional mastery. It's not about suppressing feelings, it's about directing them in a way that benefits you. When you master your emotions, you don't become robotic or indifferent, you become strategic. You respond with intention rather than reaction. And that changes everything. Think about it. How many times have you said or done something in an emotional moment that you later regretted? Maybe you sent a long, angry text only to wish you hadn't. Maybe you begged for someone's attention only to feel even worse afterward. Maybe you tried to hurt them back only to realize it didn't make you feel any better. Acting out of emotion often leads to regret because it places power in someone else's hands. Giano notices when you learn to pause, to breathe, to choose your response, you regain control. The moment you stop reacting emotionally to the person who hurt you, you confuse them. They expected drama, tears, anger, or desperation. When they don't get it, they start questioning everything. Why isn't she reacting? Why isn't he upset? Did I even have as much control over them as I thought? That uncertainty creates a shift in power. They no longer dictate how you feel, you do. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean you ignore your pain. It means you process it in a way that makes you stronger. Instead of giving someone the satisfaction of seeing you struggle, you channel your energy into growth, success, and self-improvement. You redirect your focus onto things that truly matter, your goals, your happiness, your future. And that, more than anything, is what makes you powerful. People are naturally drawn to those who are emotionally stable. When you can remain composed in difficult situations, when you don't let others shake you, you become someone others respect and admire. You become unshakable. And that kind of strength is rare. Imagine a scenario where someone intentionally tries to provoke you. Maybe they say something hurtful, ignore you, or treat you with disrespect. If you lash out, you give them control. If you beg for their attention, you give them validation. But if you stay calm, if you don't let their behavior affect your inner state, if you continue to move forward without reacting emotionally, you completely shift the dynamic. You are no longer the one chasing their approval. They are now left wondering why their actions didn't get the response they expected. This is not about playing games or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about genuinely developing the emotional strength to handle situations with grace and confidence. It's about understanding that your happiness, your self-worth, and your peace of mind should never be dictated by someone else's actions. When you master your emotions, you stop letting other people control your life. You become the one in charge. And when you're in charge, you no longer need to chase, convince, or react. You simply move forward with power. And in doing so, you don't just confuse the people who hurt you, you elevate yourself beyond them. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you have. In a world where people expect immediate reactions, instant responses, and emotional outbursts, your ability to remain silent in the face of pain is a game changer. When someone hurts you, they expect you to react. They expect you to lash out, to plead for answers, to seek closure. But when you don't give them that reaction, when you meet their actions with complete stillness, you confuse them. You shift the power dynamic in your favor. Most people underestimate the power of silence because they think not responding means weakness, indifference, or avoidance. But in reality, silence is an active choice, not a passive one. It is the ability to control the narrative without saying a word. When you remain silent, you give nothing away. You don't reveal your emotions, your thoughts, or your next move, and that uncertainty creates discomfort for the person who hurt you. They begin to question themselves. Did I misjudge them? Why aren't they reacting? Did I lose my power over them? When you argue, beg, or try to force someone to understand your pain, you hand them control. You're essentially saying, you still have power over me. Your actions dictate my emotions. But when you stay silent, you send a completely different message. I control myself. You have no power over me. That message is far more powerful than any words you could ever say. Think about a time when someone ignored you after you expected a response. Maybe you sent a text and never got a reply. Maybe you were waiting for an argument that never happened. Maybe someone walked away instead of engaging in drama. How did it feel? It probably left you wondering. That's because humans crave closure, validation, and certainty. When you take those things away by refusing to react, you leave the other person unsettled. Silence also allows you to process your emotions without external influence. When you're hurt, your initial reaction might be anger, sadness, or the urge to seek revenge. But if you react too soon, you're responding from a place of emotion rather than logic. Silence gives you the space to reflect, to regain control of your mind, and to decide what's truly best for you. It removes you from the emotional chaos and allows you to see things from a higher perspective. In many cases, the person who hurt you expects you to keep engaging with them. They expect you to chase, to argue, to beg for clarity. But when you remove yourself entirely, when you refuse to play the game, you take away their power. Suddenly, they are left alone with their own actions, forced to sit with the weight of what they've done. This doesn't mean you ignore someone forever or suppress your feelings. It means you use silence strategically. You choose when and how to respond in a way that benefits you rather than reacting impulsively in a way that gives them control. Silence isn't just about cutting someone off. It's about mastering the art of self-control. It's about understanding that not everything deserves your energy. When you learn to use silence effectively, you not only confuse the people who hurt you, you free yourself from their influence. You become emotionally independent. You no longer need their validation, their explanations, or their approval, and when you reach that level of strength, you become untouchable. The best way to respond to someone who hurt you is not through words, arguments, or emotional outbursts. It's through action. When someone expects you to stay broken, stuck in pain, or seeking their validation, the most powerful thing you can do is level up. Elevating yourself beyond their expectations not only confuses them, but also liberates you. It shifts the focus away from them and onto the one person who truly matters, you. People hurt others for different reasons. Sometimes it's intentional, meant to control or manipulate. Other times it's out of carelessness or their own unresolved issues. Regardless of the reason, when someone causes you pain, they expect a certain reaction: anger, sadness, or desperation. But when you take that pain and turn it into fuel, when you grow stronger instead of weaker, you completely flip the script. Imagine someone walking away from you expecting you to fall apart. Now picture their reaction when they see you thriving, when they see you smiling, growing, succeeding. Instead of seeing you broken, they see you rebuilt, stronger than ever. That moment of realization, that shift in power, is what confuses them the most, because they thought they could control your emotions, but they underestimated you. Growth is the best response to pain. It's not about revenge or proving something to the other person. It's about proving something to yourself. It's about taking the energy you would have wasted on overthinking, chasing, or seeking closure and using it to become the best version of yourself. The key to truly every time you invest in your personal development, every time you prioritize your success, your goals, and so your happiness, deeply content, you reclaim that your actions no longer hold any weight in your life. This doesn't happen overnight, but every small step matters. Maybe it's improving your health, working on your skills, deepening your relationships with people who truly value you, or pursuing a goal you've been putting off. Every positive action you take moves you forward, while they stay stuck in the past, wondering why their actions didn't break you. Nothing confuses a person more than realizing they were just a chapter in your story, not the whole book. When they see that your life didn't stop because of them, that you didn't stay stuck in their shadow, it forces them to reflect on their own actions. It makes them wonder, did I lose something valuable? Did I misjudge them? Why are they thriving without me? And the truth is, by that time, it won't even matter to you anymore, because you won't be doing it for them. You'll be doing it for yourself. The greatest form of strength is rising above. It's proving, not through words, but through action, that you are unshakable. That no matter what happens, you will always find a way to grow, to improve, and to become better. That's real power. That's the kind of transformation that doesn't just confuse the person who hurt you, it inspires everyone around you. In the end, pain is temporary, but the strength you build from it lasts forever. The choice is always yours. You can stay stuck in the past, or pain is inevitable, as the launching pad, but how you respond to it determines whether you choose growth, success, and inner peace, rise above. You don't just heal. When someone hurts you, the instinct is to react. That is the ultimate validation, to demand answers, to prove your worth. But true power lies in doing the opposite. Confusing them is not about playing games. It's about shifting the focus from them back to you. It's about breaking free from their control and choosing your own path forward. When you stop reacting emotionally, you regain control. When you stay calm and composed, you create uncertainty in their mind. When you use silence strategically, you leave them questioning their own actions. And most importantly, when you level up, when you take that pain and turn it into strength, success, and self-improvement, you don't just confuse them, You elevate yourself beyond their reach. At the end of the day, the best revenge is happiness, confidence, and self-mastery. The moment you realize that you don't need their validation, their apologies, or their attention to be whole. You set yourself free, and when you reach that level of strength, they no longer matter. Because while they are still stuck in their old patterns, you are out there winning, thriving, growing, and living the life you deserve. That's the ultimate power move. That's how you truly win.